What do we want? Jobs. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Yeah, Mr. Harry Crawford with Diligence Offshore Services here in the city of Port Arthur has been fighting for quite a time now, trying to get the permits and get the land that he needs to bring in turbine energy to the city of Port Arthur. He's trying to get the right of way to build out in the Gulf like all of our oil and gas companies. And we support him 100%. Port Arthur needs a diverse energy source, and we need the city lawyer, attorney to get out of the way and support this. We need the mayor to support this. We need city council to support this. Why? Because we have about 11% unemployment. And our kids, our young people need training. Our kids need opportunity. We need the resources when it comes to economics for the city of Port Arthur. We need it, and we need it now. It's time for the city mayor and the city council to support Mr. Harry Crawford with this offshore project. We need these turbines out there. It's wind turbines. It's not even moored into the ground. We're talking about wind turbines that's going to provide a couple of megawatts of energy that's needed. As we all know, our electrical grid failed us in 2021. And now we know we need to upgrade our sources of energy. So we need to add something else to the bucket, and wind turbines are the way to go. So support Offshore Services, LLC.
Jobs.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Jobs.
When do we want it?
Now.
Offshore?
Jobs.
Offshore?
Jobs.
Offshore?
Jobs.
Jobs. What do we want?
Jobs.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Jobs.
When do we want it?
Now.
Offshore?
Jobs.
Offshore?
Jobs.
Offshore?
Jobs.
Jobs. What do we want?
Jobs.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Jobs.
When do we want it?
Now.
Offshore?
Jobs.
Offshore?
Jobs.
Offshore?
Jobs.
All right.
Jobs.
What do we want?
Jobs.
What do we want?
Jobs.
When do we want it?
Now.
When do we want it?
Now.
When do we want it? What do we want?
Jobs.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Jobs.
When do we want it?
Now.
Offshore?
Jobs.
Offshore?
Jobs.
Offshore?
Jobs.
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 What do we want?
Jobs.
What do we want?
Jobs.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Jobs.
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 The mayor misses line.
Everybody on this side, but y'all move over here before they all these students come in.
And Reverend Harlan Williams regarding a petition to Mayor and Council, consideration of Diligence Offshore Services, LLC. Y'all read the approach.
I'm Ora Smith. I live at 220 Emery Lane. And we, the citizens of Port Arthur, we respectfully voice our unwavering support for Diligence Offshore Services. This is a Black American-owned enterprise. We have some concerns about discrimination. The citizens of Port Arthur had the understanding that the City Council had already approved the Diligence project by 6-1. And this was, 2 or 3 months ago. I happened to have been at the meeting, at the council meeting, when in other words, let's have let me see. I was at the meeting when Mr. Crawford offered to do the project without any cost to the city. And respectfully, I thought that was a big thing when we're gonna bring somebody in and it's not gonna cost the city anything. But now I'm kind of hearing that it is costing the city because of negligence on the part of us not having people on staff that could handle this situation. So why don't we have a forum and allow the community to engage directly with the people that is against it. Because our council is not against it. They voted 6-1 to have it. And if we could have this forum and, you know, let Mr. Crawford take away all of the doubts that people are having. Well, actually, we want to know what are the doubts. By approving the lease today, though, Port Arthur stands to gain many benefits such as job reliance, energy supply, reliable energy supply, environmental benefits, and many more. So, and from my understanding, Diligence is an independent project and it's separate from Entergy. So, I think that's a plus. Last but not least, we the citizens of Port Arthur would like to thank 6 council members for approving this project. Now, please finish the job so Diligence can get started. And we thank you for those votes.
Okay, Coach. Councilman Dusek, yes, sir.
Yes. I'm glad I get to address this. There's been a lot of talk. I've been following it on social media. And I've read a lot about wind turbines also. And everything you read is going to be pros and cons. But what the citizens have been divided on, from what I'm hearing and what I'm reading, is basically some citizens are saying, we don't need it. It ain't good for the environment. Some citizens are saying, it's a business. It's going to bring profits. It's going to bring jobs. And as a councilman, understanding this, I represent people, I hear both sides of this. But then when it comes to making decisions I make are made with reference to how the government works and the procedures that's involved. I too have become frustrated because of the time frame that we've taken. But the way I see the process, as a council and as a city, we have an individual coming to us and want to bring a project or development to the city. And when that individual come to us, they tell us what they need. And in the case of Diligent, it was, we want to lease property. Okay, so the only thing that I as a councilman is concerned with, if we're going to lease the property to somebody, if we put it up for lease and somebody come and want to lease it, then we should check that individual. We should ensure that that individual understands what we're going to require in order to lease the property. And when we get all those things, we sign a lease agreement where that individual knows what goes with leasing this property. And also when we lease it, the city is protected and not held for life. That's where I, as a council member, stop. When people start talking about the building of wind turbines, or how many, or where, that's not before me anymore. Because any construction we don't approve, it goes through our ordinances, and our ordinance states the requirements that one must have in to go to each step. And in a project of that nature, it just so happens that permits going to have to be garnered at different levels. So if the process is done, anytime he doesn't meet the requirements, that level should be able to say why and why he can't be issued to go with the project. So in reference to the 6 votes, you know, I've been on here for the whole time that that project has been before council. You know, we accepted that was a good project when it was presented to the council. We never voted to approve the project because we won't vote to approve that project. That's not how it works. You know, he has to go through the process. But the holdup with this has been the lease agreement. So that I can say that we're getting closer to agreement. From my understanding as a council member, there were problems with the two sides, but they're supposed to be getting closer to agreement on the lease agreement. But what citizens have to understand is whether you against it or whether you for it, you're like Councilman Deuce said. It's our opinion. But we have things in place that tells us how we do business. And that's the thing that I'm focusing on, ensuring that we take it step by step, because leasing property has nothing to do with the actual project itself. That's going to be a whole new ball game. That person is going to have to now come back with a construction plan, which they got to bring to our inspection, so they go through and see if they meet all requirements to build this, you know. And then even if we say yes, then they now got to go through that. So that's something that's going to be taking place, but it won't be with council anymore because these ordinances are in place already.
Well, I hear what you're saying, but the citizens don't hear this. Look like we could have a forum or something so Mr. Crawford could clarify some things too that is being said about the shrimps and the, what is it, the birds and all of that. I mean, that's some of the reasons that they are against it.
Well, you know, Ms. Smith, you're absolutely correct, you know, but in order for us to get to that point, we have to first do the first step, and that is, if we're going to lease the property, we need to decide, we need to do a lease agreement. Once we got that, the property is leased, then he will do what he has necessary. But people who are against this, that's why people come before us at council and tell us. People who are for it can come before council and tell us. But if we, the council members, understand how business is done, then we know there's a certain process that's in place already where there's written ordinance and permits that need to be done.
Has anybody been up here against it? I mean, before the council?
Yes, I've heard individuals speak against it. But, you know, like I said, when people come to say, I'm against, I'm for it, you know, I respect that and I understand that. And that's why I try to make clarification on the process. The process that you all talking about is not one that is before the council. The one that's before the council is leasing this property. Oh, we're gonna lease this property. That's what's before the council. And that's what the council needs to make eventually resolve. And from my understanding, at this point, there were disagreements on what it should include in the lease agreement and what it doesn't include in the lease agreement. So it's been negotiation. We've been told that it's getting close to settling it. And I can tell you, Ms. Smith, this council, once it resolved, if you think you all are frustrated, you know, we have too, but we talked with our legal, and they understand that we want it done, and they also want to make sure that it's thorough, that when it's done, Mr. Crawford agrees, the city agrees, or if it's not done, Mr. Crawford understands why and not. So we're like you. We're looking for a resolution and we want to have one as soon as possible.
Police Director.
So I don't want to drag this out, but we're not here to vote on whether to allow the project or not today. And I'm glad that you spoke about it, because we understand how you all feel. But like I said, I'm on the same boat with you. You know, whether I support or not support it, I don't think that's the issue before this council. The issue before this council is whether we're going to lease this property or not.
Some kind of way, it seems to me that the citizens need to be informed. That's why I was talking about like a forum,
Well-
so that Mr. Crawford would have an opportunity to debate whatever
You know,
the
Mr.
issues are.
You know, Ms. Smith, if I hadn't seen and attempted at this before and how it turned out, I would be the first one, because I'm all for informing citizens. But I saw the attempt with Mr. Crawford wanted to do that one time, and we had a group of people that was in there that was for it, and we had a group of people that was not for it. And I watched that, and it was just back and forth, because whatever was being said, the other side didn't want to hear. So sometimes when you have a division among citizens like this, I think the way council should look at it and resolve it is that we do it in a fashion that when our decision is made, we can show citizens why we made this decision, and it wasn't our opinion or how we felt about it, and it was not listening. We made the right decision, and this is critical because we know we have citizens that are against and citizens are for. So when we make this decision, we're going to stand by the decision that we looked at what's written in the process, and we went by it, and we made sure that when we made it, because this is a controversial topic at this time, and somebody tell me it's not. I don't know where they've been, because I've been following social media, you know, so, but the time, I think the time is gone. I think most council members agree with that. So we are where you are, and we're gonna be getting this resolved, and from our attorney's advice to us, you're saying that it's pretty much whereby we're gonna get a resolution to this, and that it was good. That was from the last meetings. So it's not like we've never talked about it. It's been addressed every meeting and stuff, and I think we're very aware of it. But I just want citizens to know, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, that's what we need.
No,
We need to know.
hey,
What you're telling me right now.
As far as I'm concerned, I'm not even looking at the project. I'm looking at what is the request of council, and that is lease property. And that's what Mr. Crawford came to us, and during his presentation, if you go back and look at it, his request was only to lease property. You know, and that's what it takes for him to get started with the project. He can't do a project if he ain't got no property. So, you know, that is the issue.
But I think everybody was so anxious about the jobs, you know, and
Well, you know, that counts with any type of new business. You know, you could open a mom and pop and somebody gonna work there, and that's something that we understand too. We understand the economic impact it has, but at the same time, you know, we wanna make sure that we do what is asked of us and we follow what is written. And from, as I stated, I'm gonna talk about facts. Mr. Crawford came to the council and presented his project, his request. He was asked, what do you need from council? And he said, I need to lease property. That is what we're doing. So we want to make sure that all of the I's are dotted, all the T's are crossed. Once he gets that, then he'll talk about his project. And that's when he'll start going through process. See, because that's when you talk about discriminate. No, we don't get to that. You know why? Because everything is written now. If you want to build something on that property, you got to start bringing a plan. That plan got to be looked at and approved by the city. Okay? And if the city approves his work plan, then he's given permits from the city. Then when we talk about the environmental part that everybody talks about, the birds and all of this, he has to go through state and federal, EPA, environmental.
Yeah. I think
And
we have that.
those permits, so guess what? If he can't meet that, then they gonna say you can't build it. But we're not into that. That's too far for us, for this council.
So what's the next step?
Well, the step that we are now is what Mr. Crawford asked this council, and that was lease, can I lease the land?
Right.
And from what we know, that should be resolved pretty soon.
Pretty soon.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Are y'all gonna talk about it today?
Yes, tell you what, we've been talking about it every meeting, so that lets you know that we have not taken this lightly. And every meeting is part of what we talk about because the attorneys are the ones, not us. The attorneys are working. So the attorney come and tell us what this one want, or what they agree or disagree with, and it's been attorneys, okay? And the council is the one that's listening and hearing. That's why I say your frustration.
Yeah,
is
because
felt
I'm
by all
having
of
some
us.
about discrimination too. I'm having some about that.
Okay,
You know,
well-
that's really,
Well, I can answer that.
okay.
Okay, just tell me specifically, what is
You want me to be
discriminatory?
specific?
No, discriminatory here. I mean, because, I really want to understand that. So what is it?
Are you familiar with Jasmine Crockett?
Yes, I am.
She be Pacific.
Right, and that's what we need here when you come before us and make a comment, because that's a pretty powerful comment.
Okay, it seems to me the people that's stopping this is white. I mean, the attorney, Ms. Beckham, the lawyers that's involved for the city, are they white?
Okay, I understand why you would, let me tell you something, if you're thinking that way, then I understand it, because if I were to look at it from your standpoint,
Uh-huh.
I would say the same thing.
Yeah, because
But-
what's
but-
going on in the whole.
But what I just explained, right,
Yeah.
should have dispelled that. Although somebody may look at who's involved in making the decisions,
Yeah.
I can understand, but when I just explained where we are in the process, right, that should be clear. Because when you look at who's gonna vote, it's not just whites.
Right.
And it's the majority, so somebody could come up to that podium and say, that's against it. They say, well, y'all for it because it's a black business and y'all black. So we as council members, we're not deaf to the what, a perception. And sometimes it's a reality to whoever proceeded. But in this particular case, if that's your concern, we could tell you, we make the decisions. So it ain't gonna be no racist decision here, okay?
Okay.
We gonna make that decision.
All right.
So I can tell you that no matter who's working it, who's negotiating, who's talking, the final decision is not gonna be made by nobody that you mentioned. The final decision is gonna be made by us. Okay, so and I'm glad you said that, because those are things we have to make sure that we explain and we make citizens aware of how it really works, you know. But Grant, when I look at what you said, I agree. Because I read social media, and those who don't want it, they looking like we support it because we black in the black business. So I don't listen to that. I don't listen to this because I know that we're gonna do this. And when we finish, we need to be able to justify what we did based on our policy, procedure, and how we take care of business as a city and not as individuals. And I'm following this all the way to the T. And I can assure you, whatever decision being made when it's time to vote up here, I'm gonna vote. And when I vote, when I leave this seat, you ask me why I vote, I'm gonna show you what I use to cast that vote. And I'm quite sure we all gonna be voting. I guess that's why we really not really saying we tired of it, let's do it. Because when we do, we're gonna make sure that we done everything the right way. And we looked at everything and we listened to everything was presented to us. But I can tell you, I'm looking for the day that I cast a vote because I'm tired reading and hearing about it. I'm like you. But we all are.
All right, thank you.
Okay, Councilman Lewis.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Appreciate your comments and everything. But yeah, I heard you say that, and Councilman Doucette said that the people have been here for and against. I have not, to this day, read anything from informed citizens about this issue. Okay? The informed citizens, supportive of the wind turbine. But the ones that's against it, they come down, I've read it on social media. Well, if it's such a good project, why energy is not involved? It's an independent project. It has nothing to do with energy. Energy has our exclusive electrical franchise because they lease our right of way. All your telephone poles and all that stuff, the right of way, they control that. They have the franchise. It has nothing to do with what, this is a totally independent project. And about when can we vote on it? I've been sick and tired. This project is going over 2 years. The problem is, it has never really come to a vote, okay? I got tired of hearing all of this discussion. I put it on the agenda for a workshop. Let's workshop. All parties, our attorneys, their attorneys, the developer, we're all going to be in the same room. It is only, and hopefully, when we come out of there, the developer has a clean document that we can go ahead and vote. Anything on this agenda, we can vote on it, okay? We can vote on it. Okay, we don't have to wait on nothing. It's legal, perfectly legal. He have a clean document, what he needs to proceed, we can vote on it. And send him through the process. But everything, thus far, everything so far, you can always tell what the intent of the opposition is about. You can always tell. You look at what effect it has. We have single-member districts because their large voting system had a negative impact on minorities. And we went all the way to the United States Supreme Court and proved it. We proved the intent. They had that large plan that said, we said, okay, what is the effect of that large plan? So what's the effect? The effect of the plan that they had that presented the United States Supreme Court, and they lost after spending $500,000 of taxpayers' money, okay, and they lost, had a negative impact on minorities. Yeah. So we can vote on this today. We've been dealing with it too long. we need to send a message that businesses are welcome, new businesses are welcome in Port Arthur. Just come to the table with clean project. This is a clean project. Every meeting I've had thus far, since we got the assistant attorneys to help out, outside attorneys, you know what the effect is? Stall. That's been the effect. There's always some new information, or somebody gonna throw another flag. It don't even belong on the field. The person that's throwing the flag, they sitting on the bench. Okay? Not even a part of what's going on. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired of new businesses, clean businesses, and I'm talking about a huge, when you go into your, that's proprietary information, I can't talk about that, okay? But we're gonna have a closed session. We're gonna have a closed session, and all the players, attorneys can be in the room for the first time. For the first time. Okay?
Okay, your name, okay. No other remarks?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, excuse me, go right ahead.
Thank you. Just want to put it on the record that at no time has there been any racial discrimination with our decision making and how far we made it in our decision making. We have an attorney, we have outside counsel that have given us factual information to be able to make the decisions that we made thus far. And it is our responsibility to listen to the attorneys to help protect the city of Perth first. That's our responsibility. And we have not made any racial innuendos at all, for or against diligence. This has only been about the facts. And yes, we are a majority black council, but that still should hold no weight on us being for or against this project. So the naysayers, for those who don't want the project, and for those who do want the project, again, that voice is not where, to make decisions accordingly, that is not where we are here. As Councilmember Doucette mentioned, we haven't made it to that point yet about the project. What we agreed on is negotiation of the lease, which is what we're currently involved in right now. So please understand, this has nothing to do with the organization being black. This has nothing to do with whether the attorneys are white or black. This has to do with the facts and us making decisions according to the facts and in the best interest of the city of Perth.
Okay. And we have some remarks from the gallery. Now this is during the presentation. Is that permissible, attorney?
Your 100% Hispanic attorney says that you may proceed.
Okay. State your name, please, and your address.
Yeah, appreciate it. My name is David Jones, 2248 11th Street. Now, I just want to clarify a couple of questions from Ms. Orr, right? The issue of discrimination seems to happen when, from my opinion, right, the city attorney's office. And the question is, if the city attorney having Mr. Crawford do something that the attorney's office are not doing to other refineries, other local plants, that's where the issue of discrimination is coming in. And I would beg everybody to take that into account whenever you go into closed session and talk about this. Just make sure that the city attorney is doing what she's supposed to do, and you probably need to kind of help her if she's competent in dealing with dealing with cities with industrial agreements and refineries like that. That's the only thing I have. Thank y'all for your time. name is Hilton Kelly, founder and director of the Community Empowerment Development Association, residing at 910 Colorado, here in the city of Port Arthur, all my life. And you know, one thing I'd like to respond to the comment that was just made. Discrimination comes from all kind of different ethnicities toward other people, so let's just be clear on that. But anyway, Mr. Crawford is very much aware of the state laws when it comes to environmental issues, when it comes to permitting. He's very much aware of the issues coming from the Environmental Protection Agency, from our regional office, and from Washington, D.C. We understand that the question here at hand is whether or not you guys are going to help him to kick this off by leasing him the land. And the burning question in my mind is, out of all the property we have abandoned around Port Arthur in need of repair, we have underground issues with pollution that have been deemed what you call red zones. Why wouldn't we work with Mr. Crawford, who's willing to lease the property, and then this will be more money in the city coffers? Okay, now he understands he have to go through the other processes, but let's deal with what the city can and cannot do. But right now, you guys have the power to go ahead and vote whenever you go back in session on whether or not you're going to lease in the land. That's what we're here for today. And I would urge you all to lease Mr. Crawford this land, simply because he's bringing something to the table that we much needed. Now, as we all know, we voted a couple of weeks ago, or the water department said our falling infrastructure within our water system is dying. It's breaking up. So therefore, what was the solution to that? Let's increase the citizens' water bill. Let's increase the industrial water bill. Okay, how many times are we going to have to do that before the whole damn thing falls apart? Then what, we go up another $20, $30 on our elderly's water bill? Or we drive industries' water bill so high to where they can't afford to operate anymore? Is that what we want? And when it talks about the environment, I do the environment. Anybody remember the TPC plant explosion? Anybody remember the Texaco plant explosion back in the 70s? Anybody remember the hydrogen sulfide release from Valero? Anybody know about Oxbow calcining, who's dumping tons of illegal and legal emissions into the air, such as sulfur dioxide, ethylene oxide, all these various chemicals? You want to talk about birds being damaged? Let's talk about people's lungs being damaged. We are the 10th worst place to live when it comes to pollution in the whole United States of America. We have 3 dialysis clinics here in the city of Port Arthur. All of them are full, and people are taking machines home to clean their own blood. We have a disproportionate number of kids with asthma, bronchitis, and many of us have died from cancer. Now, I remember a time when I used to ask in my meetings, how many people in this room know someone who has died from cancer or is presently suffering from cancer? Everybody out of the room, maybe 120 people raised their hand. Now I'm asking, how many people know at least 5 to 6 people who have died from cancer? That same number has raised their hand, and the numbers are going up. We know it's not an environmental problem. And whoever mentioned the birds, we understand pollution. We understand birds being socked in in oil out in the Gulf of Mexico, when those oil rigs spew it everywhere, then they like a horizon, and they walk away from it. We've seen it. So wind turbines will be a blessing to this community. Wind turbines will bring new technology and jobs to our young people with new technology, and it would deal with the disproportionate number of unemployment. We have 11% unemployment in the city of Port Arthur. And what this gentleman is bringing to us, he's not asking the city for a dime. But most of the time, how much we're giving back in tax abatements? Have we counted the tax abatements we give to the oil and gas industries in lieu of hiring local? And if so, how many people have been hired locally? Where's the list? Where's the list of the number of people that have been hired locally and we're giving them tax abatements for hiring local? Where's it at? I see thousands of cars pouring into the city of Port Arthur whenever I'm going to the airport 3, 4 in the morning to go to D.C. or wherever I may be going. Whole truck buses picking up people at hotels. Why are so many people coming out of hotels that are working at the plant? What's going on there? Anybody ever ask that question? So you mean to tell me this is not good for our community? I beg to differ. Please make a decision on this. Please make a decision. We're citizens and we vote. And people are listening. And we're sick and tired of being sick and tired. We're sick and tired of people coming in our community, taking a seat,
and bringing jobs here that we can't even get, but we can get a belly full of pollution. Last night, I rode around and I filmed all the flaring going on from Motiva all the way over to Oxbow Calcine. It was just lit up. And if you go to TCEQ and you ask them the numbers of what was released, they'll give it to you. But who's keeping them in compliance? No one. So I have to do it. This is one of the cleanest companies when it comes to creating energy that have come through the city in a long time. And Mr. Crawford is bringing it to us. Thank you for the time.
Hey, Councilman Wells, go ahead.
Good afternoon, Councilman, Mayor. Thank you guys for your opportunity and what you do. But I'm going to speak to the employment aspect.
State your name. And
Oh, sorry. My name is Dante Brown. I am, address is 4130 Philmont Avenue, Port Arthur, Texas. I'm going to speak to the employment side of Diligence Injury. We relocated our business here from Omaha, Nebraska to Port Arthur, Texas 3 years ago. We are Signal Security. And we have been talking with Mr. Crawford about the impact that it would have on employment here in Port Arthur. All of our employees are underemployed because we can only provide part-time jobs for them. But with Diligence, we can provide some full-time jobs from our employees, and these are all Port Arthur residents. None of our employees work outside of Port Arthur. We have other contracts in other counties, other cities, which we hire those citizens from those cities. But here in Port Arthur with Diligence, 100% of our employees will be Port Arthur residents. So I'm speaking directly to the employment aspect of this particular project. So I encourage you and urge you guys that this is, when you think about the land lease agreement with Diligence Energy, please look at the impact, the economic impact that it would have in this community. Thank you for your time, and you guys have a good one.
Yes, sir. Councilman Frank.
Thank you so much. I've listened to all that we have said on today, and I believe that what Councilman Doucette said has great validity. The issue here today is not whether or not we want diligence. The issue here today is whether or not we can come to the close of the contractual agreement to lease the land. And I will be one of those individuals who will say that it has taken much too long. But as Councilwoman Tiffany Everfield said, we have only been seeking to do our due diligence to make sure that we are doing what is best for Port Arthur and for what is best in the relationship between Port Arthur and Diligence. The redlining of the contract is taking place. The racial component that you are talking about on today as you come forward is to make sure and to ensure that every individual, every company who comes to Port Arthur is treated the same. That is what we are seeking to do. That is where we are even now. So we don't want Diligence to have to jump through any hoops that anybody else would not have to jump through. And that is what we are seeking to do. That is what is happening and transpiring now. So the issue right now is not whether or not we want Diligence. We want business in our city. Yes, we did have to go up on the water rate, but we did take care of our senior citizens to ensure that they don't go up on their water rates. We did go up on the commercial rates in our city, but we have to find new revenue in our city so that we won't have to go up on the water rates and put a higher tax rate on our citizens. Diligence is that kind of company to come and do that. The development of the island, the water park that we're working on, the restaurants that we're working on to do on Pleasure Island, all of that and some other projects that are being worked on right now is to bring more revenue into the city. So the issue is not whether or not we want Diligence. The issue is the negotiation of the contract. That's what we're working on. The council has been frustrated. Diligence has been frustrated. We've all been frustrated in the process. But that's what happens in negotiations. But we want to ensure, and let me assure you that our attorney has been working diligently. She came on board, she was working, she was doing what was necessary, but this is a new project. This has never been happened in the history of Port Arthur to have a wind turbine here. This is new to the city of Port Arthur. So we want to be sure, we wanted to be sure that we were doing what we needed to do. And even as the book says, that wisdom is found in the multitude of counsel. So we were getting good advice, trying to seek the best advice that we could. But in the midst of it, the frustration has come for us and for diligence. We want to get it done, and we will. Thank you.
You had something else, Councilman Lewis?
Yes, first of all, and Councilman Frank has raised the issue. The council, our position, we need revenue. Our position is to find new revenue stream, okay? Now, I can understand the young lady raising the issue about discrimination. We just sold a right of way to a local oil company and have not required them to remove the old pipes. We just done that. Now, double standard. You want a double standard for diligent oil. That is unfair. The area that they want to deal with is about 300 some acres. 13, it's quite a bit, 1,300 some acres. I'll get the number. That is an old spoiled area. That is a spoiled area. When they excavated the Intercoastal Canal, they dumped all the pollution over there. They dumped all the pollution over there. And you know what? You know something else interesting? The Corps of Engineers dumped it over there, and the city of Port Arthur held them harmless. Now they want diligent oil, double standard, to be responsible for cleanups and what have you. And that's the permitting process takes care of that. I'm welcoming this closed session we're going to be getting into. I have quite a bit of more information that borders along just discrimination.
Yeah, the light is still on Councilman Frank. Councilman Frank? Okay. Go ahead.
Well, Gloria Sanchez, 6625 Jade Avenue. Let's talk about discrimination because I feel discriminated. I just say my name, Gloria Sanchez, 6625 Jade Avenue. I just feel discriminated. This is a speaking item. It should be only 5 minutes allowed. You allow everybody to speak on it. When I come in here with a topic and I'm speaking, sometimes you don't even allow me to ask more questions to the councils. Because they are African American, you allow them to do everything that they want to. Let's do a rule and treat everybody the same. Because you haven't done that to me, and I don't feel that is right.
Okay. That was directed toward me, right?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, thank you. All right.
No, just one brief.
Go ahead.
Just briefly. Like I said, the council elected official job is to find new streams of revenue. For the next 30 years, we're going to have to find revenue, minimum of $25 million for the next 30 years to do our capital. We can't do capital projects, it's all stock.
It's off the subject at this point.
We have to.
Mayor, we're on petitions and communications.
What's the problem?
Say it again.
What's the problem?
We're on petitions and communications.
Yeah.
And it was regarding diligence offshore services.
Right.
If we're going to start talking about water rates, that's not on the subject line.
Okay, let's remain on the subject.
Wait.
I'll show the revenue.
That's what I said. This council's job is to find new streams of revenue. Now, what's out of line about that? To help me.
Okay, Ms. Smith, in think Reverend Williams was on this with you. You all have any other remarks to make?
No, I think we're good.
Okay, we thank you for your input and all who have participated in this discussion. Thank you. Okay. Now, we'll move to item number 5 in petition.
I'm Harry Crawford, managing member of Diligence Offshore Services, LLC. I came to address what we spoke of in the City Council meeting today. You know, I can appreciate the comments that Councilmember Doucette had. He's right, we came for a lease. The issue that we're having trying to get the lease right now is Best and Krieger, the new outside counsel, and the city's attorney, Roxanne Contreneal. They keep going back and forth on construction and operation issues that shouldn't be in the lease. And so the city council can only tell you as much as they know. And as you can see from Ms. Everfield's comment, they rely heavily on their counsel, and their counsel is really stepping outside of statutory authority on a lot of things that they're asking us about. So I wanted to say thank you to the citizens of Port Arthur for all the support, for the questions, and for, you know, the concern, because we're ready to move forward. We should have had a lease a long time ago. Councilman Bay is correct. You know, we could do it today. We have a workshop today. We could do it today. Supposedly we're down to one issue now that needs to be taken care of, and that is an issue that concerns what's called HB 2845, where the state requires you to have decommissioning security in place, but here this attorney is trying to ask us to have 200% more than what the state requires. And before we even get the equipment built, the state requires you to put it up at year 10. They want us to do it before day 1. So it's a problem. Hopefully we can go into executive session today and get that out of the way and come out with a lease.